Hai.
I'm not even ready, but oh, there you go.
Harus ada itu apa intronya.
Yeah, you know. Hello, everyone. Are we all in frame and in focus? Yes, great. Hello, everyone. So, you know me, I'm Riz, and this episode of whatever this is, whatever you want to call it, is one of my favorites, but it's also a little bit different. See, usually I talk about stuff about my art, but today, like I said, it's going to be a bit different because we are at a family reunion today.
Yay!
Yay! So, my guest today, and is a very special guest, is my cousin and everyone's lovely, famous traveling ninja warrior. Yes, traveling ninja warrior who also happens to be my cousin, Trinity!
Ta-da!
And behind the camera, you won't see her, but we have Naz, who is Trinity's lifelong fan. Yeah! Yeah, you can hear her being fangirly. Anywho's, today, well, she's in Belfast this weekend, basically just to visit me. So I'm pretty awesome.
And to meet Nas.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. Before we actually get into things, I just want to say that I actually devised this really cool prank. So basically, a couple weeks ago, she said she was coming here, and Naz found out that she's related to me, and she really wanted to meet her. And so basically, I invited her to my house. We're in my living room today. And then I said to her, are you doing anything today? Let's go to my house and let's just have dinner. And she's like, 'cause she knows that Trinity's going to be here, is your cousin coming? I'm like, unfortunately not, you know. She has she's here for work. She has her own thing to do today. Well, guess who was at the door when she came today?
Ta-da!
This lady!
You got me, girl.
Yeah.
And she was like,
That was so evil of me. I'm just like, I pulled it off. I can't believe I pulled it off because I kept having to lie to her this morning. But yeah, we pulled it off! Yay! But today, we're not going to talk about pranks. Today we are going to talk about her, and specifically her latest book. Actually, it was out 2 years ago in 2015, but since I live here, I wasn't able to get my hands on this book until yesterday, and it is the Naked Traveler Anthology Horror. And it's basically a sort of like collaboration with her and 9 other travelers, basically just talking about paranormal, or not paranormal, more like creepy experiences that occurred during their travels. And so I read this book, and I have questions.
okay.
So, shall we?
Okay.
Now, the first question I have is, obviously this is like an anthology and you collaborated with 9 other people. Like, when you have this idea to collaborate with all these people, how did you find them? Did you call out to whoever just had creepy stories to tell, or did you have like a selected list of people, a list of people that you selected and curated based on their views of the paranormal?
Actually, the theme of horror came from me. So I pitched the idea to my publisher, and I said, but I hate horror. I don't like watching horror movies, and then I don't believe in Satan or anything other than human. I'm more afraid of human than Satan.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
But since Indonesia is, very fond of anything horror, so this is gonna be a good idea to make a book out of it. So I contacted my publisher, and then we had a discussion about how to make this book. And just because I only had one experience during whole of my travel experience about horror, which is in Japan, so it's gonna be too little to become a book. Yeah. So like, yeah, why don't we invite some other people? And the other 9 are all my friends, so they're all travel writers. And then so I pitched also the ideas to them. Okay, how about let's make a travel writing, but the theme is horror. So some of them, I didn't pitch to 9, but probably 15, and then 9 of them committed to, okay, I have a story.
Right.
And then yeah,
So it's not just those select 9, it's several people, and
Yes.
only 9 of them actually
Yes.
got back to you
Yes.
with their stories.
Mhm.
That's interesting. The second question is because if you don't know, she lives right next to one of the biggest graveyard in the south of Jakarta.
Yep.
And so, she's the original graveyard girl.
Seriously.
But like, I want to know, just does living next door to a graveyard all your life contribute to how you perceive these paranormal experiences, or that one paranormal experience that you had during your travel?
I think it's the other way around.
Okay.
Because I've been living there like almost forever in my life, and then I never felt anything happening, or I never found or met anything. So I never believed that such thing. Although all my friends who ever came to my house, they're like, oh, don't you feel something, because my house is like in the front, back, left, right.
You're basically right in the middle of
Yes,
the graveyard.
yes. And then, but I just make a jokes like, oh yeah, yeah. If you open the tap water, it's gonna sometimes it has blood or teeth coming out, because the water is from the ground, and it's mixed with the bodies, you know.
The corpse juices.
Yes. So the corpse juices. That's a good term. Yeah, and then I just laugh about it. But then when I had this experience, it's actually nothing to do with that. But since then, I was like, okay, so it does exist.
It does exist.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, while you were editing this book, are there any particular stories, or even just one, that creeped you out the most, and why?
Actually, I don't really read other 9
Oh, so
writings.
you haven't actually read this book
But
yourself?
I just I just did a fast reading like but all of us had the same thing. Like for example, okay, the deadline is next month. So and then while we're doing it, while we're writing it, we had a chat through WhatsApp and all that, and and we all agreed that let's just write it before sunset, because after sunset it's gonna be creepier. And then so we send text and one to not to each other, just trying to it's like we're in this together. Let's do this. But we all actually got scared about it.
So you basically all of you just wrote all these stories, but you, as the person who came up with this idea, actually decided to make a conscious decision to
Yes.
not read other people's
Yes.
stories.
Because the one who edited is actually the editor of my publisher, not me. So so.
But you don't read them anyway.
Yes, yes.
At least after sunset.
Yes.
Well, at least we all have one thing in common. We're all three of us are scaredy cats. the other thing is, because I have my own favorite story from this book, but like, what about you? Do you have any other favorite creepy travel adventures? Not necessarily, ghostly or paranormal, but just like creepy or spooky. But that isn't in this book, obviously.
Actually, it was in my first book. Maybe Nas remember. It's about my trip to an island called Moyo in Sumbawa. And then that time we were three of us, me and two friends. We were walking to find this particular waterfall. But while we were walking, I heard somebody's calling my name, and then I felt something is just touching, like, and then calling my name, Trinity, Trinity. But when I turned my head back, like nobody's there. So it kept like that. Also, my friends also experienced the same thing, and we were like, "Did you touch me? No. Did you call me? No." And then it kept going, and then until probably we were walking like 5 hours until it gets dark, and then and suddenly we saw a man with a horse, riding horse, and coming. Oh, you all go back to the village because everybody's looking for you. For you. Like, why? Oh, we will talk when we get there. So we were sitting in this head of a village, and like, oh, thank God we found you, because here used to be a kingdom that is already gone, and then whoever got called or touched, and when you turn back, and then you can actually go into the kingdom and never go back.
Hey. Anyways, moving on. And I guess the last question is, for people who want to experience for themselves, these creepy or paranormal events while they're traveling. You've traveled literally 95% of the world. So, do you have any suggestions on where to go should these people want to experience something creepy?
Before that, this theme of horror in this book, I already mentioned or strictly make a rule that this experience is gonna be on travel, basically, but you don't really looking for it. So just natural, you never expect anything, and then you found it. So if my suggestion, if you want to find something like that, I really don't know. But yeah, also all of us, the 10 of the writers, we never really look for that creepy things or something. It just happened.
So basically, you don't go looking for the creepy thing. The creepy thing
Will come to
you.
you. Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of creepy. That in itself is actually kind of creepy.
Yeah, because
you never know where you're gonna go and what you're gonna get.
Yeah, actually, I remember I once went to a horror tour in Bandung, and then that time when I got kemasukan tuh apa sih?
Possessed.
Yeah, possessed by something that it makes me burping for every half seconds continuously when I feel something nearby. So and then I went to a shaman to be apa sih, di keluarin tuh
Exercise.
Yeah. And then that time, probably in 1 or 2 years, I could feel something. I could feel something is, coming. Like, for example, in Aceh, you know, where all the tsunamis victims everywhere. So I was like, I felt so sick in Aceh because of burping continuously for 5 days I was there.
So basically, what she's trying to say is, don't go looking for it. If it's meant to be, it'll come to you. Well, that's basically all the questions that I have for you. It's not really that many. But I do know that you have a question for me.
Why are you so interested in this kind of thing?
Like the horror things, scary stuff.
Yeah.
I've always loved scary stories since I was a kid. By scary stories, I don't mean like horror movies. That kind of films, really visualizing the horror. That's not really my thing. I'm more of like a storytelling kind of horror thing, and it's actually, I don't know if I ever told you this, but our aunt used to come over to my house overnight, and she would sleep in my bedroom, and I would always refuse to go to sleep before she told me at least 2 or 3 scary stories. And that's sort of like how it started, and sort of like over the years, like I grew up reading Edgar Allan Poe and the Goosebumps series, R.L. Stein's like Fear Street, and everything that's sort of like kind of supernatural, kind of ghostly, or just creepy in the sense that it's just unsettling. So that's why I love creepy things.
By the way, I have this excerpt. Can I read?
Yes.
Okay. In Indonesia.
Okay.
By the way, tahukah Anda bahwa hantu itu mencerminkan tingkat kemakmuran suatu negara? Tahu nggak? Di Eropa, mereka memakai jas rapi. Di Tiongkok, memakai baju kerajaan. Ini setannya ya. Sementara di Indonesia, pakainya kain kafan atau pocong, atau tidak pakai baju atau tuyul. Jadi memang tergantung tingkat kemakmuran.
That is true though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like vampir apa segala macam, Dracula, they all wearing suits.
Yes,
right?
yes.
But in Indonesia, they're all either naked or pocong, you know.
Yes, like here, like people would. I don't actually have any ghost stories like from Belfast specifically, but like, you know, if you go like in UK or Ireland or anywhere like in Europe, people would describe ghosts as like the white lady or the grey lady or that man in like in a Victorian suit.
Yeah.
But back home we would get like pocong, which is basically the restless spirit of a person, mostly a Muslim person, that was at the time of burial had unfinished business, and they would be buried in kind of like a muslin cloth, and basically the only way I could describe it is kind of like they're wrapped up on both ends like a giant candy.
Yes.
And because of the unfinished business, their spirits become restless, and they would haunt, they just roam the streets and haunting those around them. In that particular style, clothes basically. So the difference is quite stark between the man in the Victorian era clothing and the pocong.
Or tuyul, you know, tuyul. They're naked. They're small and naked. See, or susur mesot. They don't even have feet, like legs. They just, you know, a nurse without legs.
Yeah, apparently the nurse, her legs were chopped off, and that's why she sort of like crawls and all bloody. And
but why not wearing something nice? I don't know.
Maybe it's because her feet were chopped off.
But you still can wear something nice.
But they're dead.
Yeah. Anyway, this is the
Yes, and I know this came out in 2015, right?
Yes.
In 2015. But if you're like me and you haven't had the chance to read it, go to your nearest bookshop. Obviously, I'm talking to
Indonesia.
people in Indonesia. Go to your nearest bookshop and buy this. As for me, luckily I have now read it and I am happy.
I have questions. What do you think about my writing here?
Well, your writing is like always very, very formal.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, because the way we talk, like we talk kind of like informally, but the way she writes is like it's very bahasa Indonesia yang baik dan benar.
Yeah.
And it's very formal, and it's kind of like really, to me, when I read your books, I thought it's kind of funny and weird at the same time, because wow, she writes so formally, and yet when I see her, this is her.
Well, I'm not.
It's just like two different people writing. It's like a different person telling the story and another different
I
person
can explain that. I can explain that because
writing it.
Indonesian language actually has two: the oral language and then
The written language.
Yeah, the written language or the conversation
Mm-hmm.
language. It's two different things. Like, yeah. Basically, it's two different languages.
Yes, and it does feel like when you talk a certain way and you write a certain way, it kind of makes you feel or think like this person is completely. They're two different people.
Really?
Yes. It's kind of like I could picture you doing all these things, but the language isn't necessarily you. It's narrated by someone else.
Maybe because it's horror.
Maybe.
If it's not horror, then
It's actually kind of like throughout all your books, it's kind of like how I felt. Like I can see
no, because
doing that.
because you've read my other books, which
Yeah.
is never about a serious thing. It's all about fun or
That's right. Yes.
misadventure or something. But now
Maybe it's because of the horror theme.
yeah,
It feels kind
you
of
cannot be
different.
funny with that.
For the record, my favorite story here is the one with the guy who went to spoiler by the way, who went to Edinburgh and met this really creepy woman who started talking to him. I don't know if I'm still not sure if she talked to him in English or in Scottish, but it was. If I was him, I would be pretty creeped out too. Probably not because I would think that she's a ghost or something like a paranormal entity, but because when an old woman approaches you and starts saying all these things to you, these crazy things to you, you would feel kind of creeped out, whatever the circumstances, and that's what I like about that story. It's creepy, but at the same time, it's also still very real. Briefly, I want to go back. Like I said, if you haven't get your hands on this book, go get it now and read it. It's very worth it. Also, I've read it and I'm very happy with it. However, I do know someone else who would be even happier to receive this book. So,
Serious?
Don't just stand there. Don't
Come
just
here.
stand there.
Serious?
Don't just stand
Oh my
there.
god!
Right.
There, give me my oxygen.
Okay.
You're
Oh my god.
Yeah, Papa, give it.
So, I hope you guys have enjoyed this crazy family reunion, and I know it's not the kind of thing that I would usually put up, but
This is special edition.
yes, this is a special edition, and it is somewhat horror themed.
Yeah.
And,
When you look at her, it's horror.
I am. And I hope you guys enjoy that, and I shall see you next time. Bye!